Now, as we heard from the sheriff earlier, we learned of an auto theft suspect who was arrested by Fresno police, and they told officers he had COVID-19. It turned out he did. Those officers are now in self-quarantine while the suspect was released back into the community under the $0 bail order. That's where we begin round two here with our panel, Diane Pierce, Amanda Renteria. And Amanda, I want to begin with you here. Did the Judicial Council get this right, or did the $0 bail order create a bigger problem on top of this pandemic? As we hear Sheriff Mims not in favor of it, obviously.
Listen, I think it's really difficult right now. We're questioning everything given a pandemic that we're having. We've never had this before. And we do have to take a look at these places where you have coronavirus that can really set free in a place, and what do we do about it? And so, this is an experiment right now, and we're going to see exactly how it plays out. I know there are some sheriffs who are against it. There are some who are looking at it and saying, is there a way to do this in the right way so that we don't have coronavirus rampant throughout our prison system?
And Diane, I mean, Sheriff Mims telling us on this program this is going to create a surge in crime. She's expecting it, hasn't seen it yet. But so far, none of the jails have had any cases, and they do have sections where they can quarantine if need be. So was it a good response to release more than 400 inmates this week?
No, of course it wasn't. Not only, like you say, should those systems have other alternatives in place as far as quarantining individuals who need that, whether it's for vulnerability or exposure, but there had to be a better way to do this and to release those people into a society that is at the height of tension and stress because of this. And we've mentioned the unemployment numbers and all of the things going on. I think it is exactly what Sheriff Mims is saying, that you can be expecting a rise in crime because everything's just at a heightened level right now. Emotions are running high. Stress is at an all-time high for everybody, regardless of whether you're essential, non-essential, wherever you are in this. This is not the time to be putting those people out into the society again. There's nothing out here that's going to benefit them, and so they're going to be, it's just not good for anybody.
Well, I want to move on to this because it's been a hot topic as soon as he said it, and I'm talking about President Trump sending out his reporting and his timeline of the mishandling of what he thinks of the World Health Organization. He believes there was a cover-up in China here, and the World Health Organization was part of it. So he's deciding to open up an investigation against the WHO, and he cut the $550 million the U.S. gives to fund the WHO. So, Amanda, I'll begin with you here. One, does he actually have the power to do this? And then number two, is this damaging at this point in time, or is it something that needs to be done?
There is no other coordinating body who is actually going to look through the data and do the analytics and who has the expertise to do so. And so the idea that you're going to cut off funding of an organization that does collaborate, coordinate, and actually can give us the data about what is happening worldwide seems to me to be exactly the opposite of how we solve this problem. We are not going to solve it as just America. It is going to take the entire world to do it. So the idea of defunding programs that do exactly this kind of work, I'm not hearing that if he defunds this, there's another way to go about getting the data about how we make sure that we actually proceed as a planet to move forward. And so my struggle here is that if you're going to do that, what is the alternative? And again, I think this is very much an impulsive move that we've seen out of this administration quite a bit of times when it comes to moments like this.
Diana, I'll come to you now because Amanda brings a good point. There wasn't a suggestion of what is the alternative when it comes to if we cut the funding from the World Health Organization, what's the backup plan? What do you say to not only that, but President Trump cutting funding for this?
I don't think he had much of a choice, frankly, because as Amanda points out, that they're the ones who are getting the data all together and going to look at it in the aggregate. Well, that's only good if you can trust the data. But when we know that they were part of suppressing certain aspects of what was going on in Taiwan or other parts of the world that were saying, hey, this is human to human, and we have evidence of this, and they suppressed that for the better part of a month, and certainly have been at least supporting supportive of China and all of the back and forth that they've done on trying to suppress some of their information and not being honest about their own data. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into whatever it is that WHO is doing to start with. So taking that money and finding other organizations that are involved in working toward global health and things like that, I think that makes perfect sense at this time, because when a global organization, a government organization, has lost the credibility of what their mandate is, what they're supposed to do, why in the world at this time would we be putting more money into that organization? It makes perfect sense to me to pull that out, find something where that could be better used.
Well, Diane, Amanda, we're already up against the clock. TV time goes very, very quick here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for making social distancing fun once again on this show. Appreciate it, and we will see you down the road here. And please stay safe.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alex.
You too.